Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. This is Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. You are joining us live following the Dallas Mavericks defeat of the Orlando Magic, 131 to 129. It is Monday, January 29th. It's about 10:40 at night. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited that the Mavericks are playing games against teams with winning records because I'll be honest, I think it's more fun. I'm adjusting my camera. Sorry, everyone. I think it's more fun to talk about these games. Mavericks beat a pretty good Orlando team, 131-129. It was a wild game, but I just wanted to start off with I'm just glad we're not talking about the Hawks or the Grizzlies or the Trailblazers. It's fun, it's more fun to talk about these matchups, win or lose, when they play against these good teams. There's stuff.
It's interesting because you get to the January schedule and the Mavericks wins in January. Just go starting at they had 2 wins against Portland, a very, very impressive win against Minnesota, a very impressive win against the Knicks, a really ramshackle, it was a fun game to watch. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but that game didn't really teach us much. Luka scored 73 against Atlanta, which again was amazing, but you don't really learn anything from those games because these Mavericks are just
Luka good. We already knew that.
Yeah, Luka good. Luka good. Really excited. So a win like tonight, where just to be quite candid, they looked outmatched, overgunned. The Magic were shooting the ball really well, but there was a lot of things where it's just the Magic are an enormous team. They are probably inch for inch the biggest size disadvantage team the Mavericks are going to have all year. The Nuggets have more skilled size, but they're not quite honestly, the Magic could play 5, 6, 10 guys in a starting 5 if they ran Franz Wagner at point guard. I mean, they're just so big. So it was going to be one of these games where styles make fights. The Mavericks were going to either shoot well from 3 or get to the one I honestly did not have get to the line 70 bajillion times on my video card. But it was just sort of one of these back and forth games where the Mavericks at halftime were kind of lucky to be where they were. And then, the third quarter, they went on a ridiculous 25-5 run, which put them back in the driver's seat. But the Magic just wouldn't die. And so we had kind of it was a game where Luka plays 43 minutes, the day that Jason Kidd talks about needing to get his minutes down. But honestly, they don't have a choice. If Kyrie Irving is going to continue to miss games, and Dante Exum is going to continue to miss games, somebody's got to play basketball. So here we are.
Yeah. I thought it was a weird game. Just because Orlando is maybe one of the worst. I think they're 25th in offense coming into the night, 30th in three-point shooting. So, of course, they make 12 three-pointers in the first half. They make 7 in the first quarter. Almost all of them are above the break threes. They only made 4 of their 18 three-pointers tonight were corner threes. So it's not and corner threes are usually that. Those are the bad defensive. that you had a bad defensive breakdown if you're giving up a lot of corner threes. So
he's my dude. Yeah. Anthony Black is kind of a textbook of this because he is not a particularly good shooter at this point in his career. He's a local product for anybody that forgets. He played 3 years at Coppell High School and played his final year at Duncanville before going to Arkansas. He was 4 for 4 from 3 and just kind of balling out of his mind. Yeah. And he was just sort of a trend in the first half where it's man, these guys just can't miss. I mean, they shot 38 3-pointers and they hit 18 of them for 47%.
Yeah. I think they shoot 34% on the season. So This was like make or miss. I mean, there's obviously things we can get into, but this
Sure.
was like the make or miss league game. Like this is the Magic made all their threes for most of the first half, made almost all their shots. They made a lot of long twos also in the first half. Like Paulo Banchero was living on long twos in the first half.
And the Mavericks basically
then,
gave that to him. That was the defensive choice.
Right, because what else are you going to do? Because you've got Luka guarding him most of the night because they don't have anyone that can really match his size with no Exum, no Derek Jones, Derek Lively, and with Grant not being as effective, with Maxey not being as effective, they don't have anyone to guard those big scoring forwards. So you got to give up something. And the Magic shot 65% in the first half, and the Mavericks shot 60% in the first half, and we're down 16, which is a really hard thing to do. But it was also, I saw a lot of doom and gloom at halftime, and I'm just like, guys, this is not going to happen. Like the Magic are not shooting 65% for a game. They're just not. Like the Celtics don't even shoot 65% for a full game.
They did shoot 51% for the game.
I know, but if they shot 65 in the first half, they probably shot probably like in the low 40s in the second half, I think. I mean, a lot of shots that they were making, and it was going to happen. So the thing was, coming out of halftime, the Mavericks just had to not give up on the game, because the Magic were going to let them back in it whether they wanted to or not, because there was going to be a cold stretch. And lo and behold, it was to start the third, and the Mavericks kept the pedal to the gas. They didn't come out looking disinterested.
The way the Mavericks always look to start the third quarter, going back to the beginning of time immemorial. I feel like I've watched the Mavericks for 25 years, and they always play bad in the third quarter.
Yeah, so and that was the game. They won this game because of the third quarter, because the Magic outscored the Mavericks every single quarter except the third. And in the third, the Mavericks win the third quarter 35-12. So that's where they win the game. It's not great that the Mavericks gave up 2 40-point quarters to the Magic. The Magic scored 40 points in the fourth quarter, which was actually kind of shocking to me because it didn't feel like they were making a lot of shots. I think they got to the free throw line more in the fourth quarter than they did in the first 3 quarters. So it's a weird game, and there's some smaller things, but I just thought, I don't know, at halftime, it just did not seem as bad as the scoreboard looked, because I just knew, now whether the Mavericks the door was going to be open. Now, whether the Mavericks would walk through it, we don't necessarily always know with this team right now and with the injuries and kind of how they're playing, but they were going to give the Mavericks a chance to win this game, and they did in the third. The Mavericks took it, and then, boy, did they ride out a weird and wild fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, I want to rewind a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fourth quarter. I think we got to give a lot of credit, in particular, to Jaden Hardy.
He saved the game.
He had 27 minutes, 8 from 9 from the floor, plus 7 assists. He really couldn't miss. He took advantage of the opportunities given to him. I saw one guy in the chat say, "I know he can go out and do this every night." And it's like, well, you're not going to hit 100% of your shots every night. But I the catch and shoot stuff, he should have confidence in his shot. He's a good catch and shoot guy. I was really delighted with a lot of the touch on his passes.
Yes.
We've been pretty critical going back to Summer League, where it felt like his placement and his speed on his passes was often, I mean, just to be quite candid, fucking terrible for an NBA player. He didn't look like an NBA player, like, either too soft. And I'm sorry, like a lot of people aren't going to get this, or don't understand, or don't care about this level of nuance, but an inch or two on passes makes a difference with these guys when their athleticism. I mean, when you go to an NBA game, it looks like there's no room on the court. So he had a couple of drives that ended up in the hands of Lively for dunks that were just, magnificent. And I was just really, really glad for him, because I've been really hard on him. I mean, I'm on record. Like, I want the Mavericks to move him. I'm just not sure, there's not a lot of room for him on this bench, but it's nice that he stepped up when the Mavericks needed him, because if he wasn't anything other than sublime in the first half, the Mavericks would have been down by 25.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Basketball is funny because it's like he had his best game by not even close. This was his best game of the season. And he's been struggling pretty hard for the last month or so. And like, who would have thought that his game, like, he would have this game against this team, like this Magic team, which is like, on paper, maybe the worst matchup for him in the league. Like, just a bunch of
They're
size
so
and
long.
a bunch of length. Yeah,
Yeah.
just against the like for a guy that struggles getting around people with his live dribble, and for a team that can close out and take away shots as well as the Magic can, that just it doesn't compute that he had. The
Well, I
games
felt
he
like
had, so that makes
I
it
need
all
to
the more
go.
impressive.
I would need to go watch the tape again, but I felt like everything that came with his offense tonight came with him already on the move or completely stand still. When
Yes, it
he
was.
tries to slow down and
He didn't
operate,
do that. Yeah.
he can't do that. And that's okay. Like, that's not his skill set. But if he's moving, he looks all right. And obviously it paid off nicely tonight. The other thing, his offense fueled his defensive effort. And that really matters. Like, I talked to Bobby Corral about this last week. Just watch what Hardy gets burnt like once a game because he's ball watching. He'll like watch the shot go up and his guy will get back. He played harder tonight on that end of the floor and kid rewarded him for it. 27 minutes is a lot for him. So I'm really glad that he got the time. I'm really glad that it worked out for him.
Yes, for sure. He was. They lose this game if he misses like 2 more shots.
That's right.
And he was 8 of 9. So
that's right. So let's see who else was really kind of interesting and all over the place.
This was a really impressive game from Lively, especially considering this is also not a great matchup for him. When you consider how much beef the Magic have in their front court, because Lively is great, he's big, he's long, but he's still got that rookie slender body. And Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. are sturdy lads. Those are strong bases with those two guys. And then Mo Wagner coming off the bench is not maybe as stout as those two, but he's still also a pretty big boy. So that was impressive to see him pretty much on his own in the front court, aside from Luka, really. Just battle the way that he did. Like, it's one thing, like you look at Wendell Carter and Banchero, when you're a center and you've got a 4-man that can kind of also rough it up and play tough and play big in the paint, that's such a big deal for us. Like having someone else that can also box out. So you don't feel like you're the only, like if you don't get this rebound, the team doesn't get the rebound. Like that must make it so much easier for these front court guys to play. Like Lively is doing this with nothing behind him on the front court. Like Grant Williams has been awful this season. Maxey has been non-existent when he does play.
Yep.
They don't play Lively and Dwight Powell together for obvious reasons. You don't play him and Holmes together. Like Lively is literally like a man on an island in the paint sometimes for the Mavericks. And for him to continually finish these games as strong as he does, I know he only had 8 rebounds. I know he had 0 offensive rebounds. He did. Or no. I'm sorry. Looking at the wrong stat line. He had 11 rebounds, 3 offensive. He was the only player on the Mavericks to have an offensive rebound. Like, I know it's 11 rebounds doesn't like scream like it's a good game, but like maybe it's not matching the praise that I'm giving him.
Yeah.
But when you consider the opponent and you consider the fact that his front court starting player Grant Williams had 2 rebounds.
Yep.
Maxi Kleber had 1 rebound in 22 minutes. Like it's unfair that this 19-year-old has to do all this, but he's doing it. And then he's doing all of that, and he's still rewarding you on the other end of the floor with 8 of 9 shooting. He made 4 free throws, which is not bad for him. I know it's kind of right in line with his free throw percentage, but 9 free throw attempts, he made 4. You take it. Like, he's steal a block. Like, he scored 20 points. Like, I can't say enough about Lively's game, and I think it might get a little overlooked with the Luka 45 points, with the Hardy 20-point explosion off the bench. But Lively was just as important, if not more so, in certain aspects.
Hardaway had 36 points off the bench.
Oh yeah, Hardaway had 36.
You're reading tonight is tough. I'm just teasing.
Hardy had 20. I said Hardy had 20 off the bench. Sorry, Hardaway did start with 36. Yeah.
Tell me if you noticed this. Because of Lively's role in the defense, then because of just rotations and stuff, there were a number of instances I saw Lively end up directly underneath the basket. And yeah, he had 5 fouls, but he also played 41 minutes.
Yeah.
And he did not do anything that I saw that resembled panic. When you put a big man under the basket, there's just kind of an emotional, like, oh, fuck, response to this. Because it's like, If you're under the rim, you've not done your job, or you're out of line, or you're out of place, or you've been bullied down there. And there were a couple. I remember one shot, it was in the second half, where either Wendell or Paolo missed like right at the rim, and he's under the basket, and he takes the rebound from both of them, despite being under the basket. And that just doesn't happen for big men in a Mavericks uniform. I mean, this game, you're right. Like I saw a stat line that said, so he has more 2010 games than any other rookie this year other than Wemby. That includes Chet. So I think that's pretty fascinating. So his game really was kind of the highlight for me, because you get to the other stat line, Tim Hardaway, 36, 36 and 8, obviously nothing to scoff at, but it's just, it's a different feel, because Tim lit, again, this is why we keep coming back to why we don't think the Mavericks are going to trade Tim, because Tim's the only one who will shoot these fucking shots.
Yes.
Like Luka just has this, there's apparently a bad question in the presser where somebody asked Tim about, developing chemistry with Luka. It's like, they played together for 5 years. What are we doing? He's like, they work together. Like they know. And like Luka just sort of has this tendency to find him in that, 4 to 8 second shot clock range, and, hits him right in the shooter's pocket. And Tim is willing to take the shot. And everybody on this site that we talk with that hates Tim completely discounts the willingness to take the shot. Guys don't want to look bad in the NBA. Tim does not give a shit. Sometimes that absolutely bites him in the ass. I'm not gonna lie about that. But with what the Mavericks do with Luka's ball control, you have to have that trigger man. So
yes, you're absolutely right. He took 9 threes. All other non-Luka Mavericks combined took
18.
No, hold on.
Oh no,
non-Luka. So that's 5. Took 10.
That's got to be their lowest 3-point outing of the year.
Yeah, for sure. The Magic were running them off the line really well. But yeah, Tim took 9 3-pointers. Every other non-Luka Mav combined for 10.
Sure.
The only other people in the starting lineup to shoot: Josh Green took 3, Grant Williams took 2, Maxey took none in 22 minutes.
I just send Maxey send Maxey to the moon. I'm so tired of him. He is such a gigantic wimp. He gets the ball on a kick out, and they know he's not shooting. They know it. He had a corner 3 that he passed to a covered Jaden Hardy. It's like, get out of the game if you're not going to shoot. Sorry. We're not going to talk. I don't want to beat on guys too badly this game. And then before we cut to break, I do think it's worth addressing. Of course, it's worth addressing the 45.9 rebound, 15 assist man. I didn't even notice he had 45 points. That's how fucking good this guy is. He obviously scored a ton of free throws, but the pass that was my favorite was the look away jam to Lively that put them up 126 to 120. And he's like, he was sitting there he's like, I don't know what he was doing, but it's, he just manipulates people. My favorite quarterback, my favorite team is Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes manipulates people the same way, where guys just freak out when he's looking a particular direction. He's so good, man. Yeah. And I'm never going to get bored watching him.
He's played now 45, 46, and 43 minutes. And in those 3 games, he has 73 points, 28 points, 45 points.
Many points.
He has 30. Looks like he has 39 assists in those 3 games, I think.
Responsible for like 300 points.
He's got 29 rebounds in those 3 games. I was really worried coming into January. He played that ridiculous December where he averaged basically like 38, 11, and 9. And he was averaging basically 40 minutes a game, 39 and a half. So let's just call it 40. And I was worried because if you remember last season, he also had a heroic December where they basically needed him to do almost exact same stat line, like a 38-point triple-double for the month of December, averaging almost 40 minutes per game. And I was looking at it the other day and I was like, I'm a little concerned because he obviously came out of that December last season and did not close the season as well as he should have because he was a little burnt out. That's a lot of minutes. With the usage that they were giving him.
That's right.
I was a little concerned is that going to happen does that happen again? And in January, he's been really good. He had like a couple of kind of weird games in January, like the loss against Utah, he was really bad. The loss against Memphis, he was also really bad, but that was a game he got hurt. And I was just like, is he going to get hurt? Is he going to get worn down? Because they're asking him to be Superman for almost an entire season again. And for him to respond at the end of this month with these 3 games, they go 2-1. Like, if they don't win these games, like the schedule is pretty bad. Like, it's just, you can't say enough about his effort. Hopefully this is the off season. We all feel like this last off season was the first in a while that he took seriously in terms of working out and conditioning. Hopefully that is paying off now. But I will say, you could do all the off-season work in the world. It is not like NBA players cannot play 45 minutes a night with like high 30s, low 40s usage before, he's going to wear out if they can't get healthy or figure something out. But for right now, it's just, it's incredible. I can't believe it. I can believe he's doing this, but it's also kind of unbelievable.
So, sorry, I was looking at a clip because we're going to talk next. All right. So we're going to cut to a quick break. Actually, not a break. We're going to let me do the thing I always do, which is ask you to go down and like the stream. Got 234 people in here right now. Would love to see 234 likes. That would be very nice for Josh and I. While you're down there, if you could consider subscribing to our show. If you're listening to an audio version of the show the next day, please send me an email. Please review the show. Please leave a star rating. That sort of stuff is very, very helpful to us. Josh and I, we grind out a little bit of coin from this. It's part of the incentive that we keep doing this, other than the fans. We really like talking to all of you guys. And anybody that's listening on the live stream, when the show is over, if you could go leave a comment on the actual video itself away from the live stream feed. Now, for those of you listening on the audio version, I'm going to cut to a quick ad read, and then Josh and I will be right back. All right, thanks so much for bearing with us. All right, I think that's probably the most that we need to do with that game, because there's elements of what you just talked about towards the end now that want to that basically speak to what I think we're going to talk about next. Because had the Mavericks not won that game, we just don't expect them to win any of these next 3. Just to be quite candid, like they're going to be. I would love it if they won. That's not what I mean. It's just they're going to be, they're not going to be expected to win any of the next 3. So you go into, you look at their recent record and you see the fact that, okay, their wins in their last several games required Luka to score a bajillion points, and that would be it. It was like things were just looking like, I'm more serious about this. Like it's you don't want to make any assumptions, but I would start to wonder if Jason Kidd would have not had a job, because they just don't have many changes they can make, So why don't you start talking a little bit about what you were thinking about pregame?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Was Jason Kidd coaching for his job tonight? Because of the things we just laid out about how bad of a loss this would be going into these next 3 Murderers Row games. Plus, it's seats for soldiers, and I know that's really big. Like, it's big for the org, but I know Cuban really takes heart in this. And the Mavericks were 14-2 in seats for soldier games entering tonight. So that's 16 years they've done it. They're 14-2. That includes the 4 bad years, the 3 tanking years before Luka, and then Luka's rookie year where they were also bad. Still only 2 losses in the last 16 years. So if they lost this game, and the way Kidd was coaching, like
very demonstrative. He looked like a coach.
Yes, that's the most active I've seen him and animated I've seen him on the sidelines. Kidd is not dumb about this stuff.
He's the most manipulative.
Yeah,
he's the most manipulative person in the entire organization.
I am pretty convinced, with just speculation, just watching the game from my TV, that he knew he was coaching for his job tonight. I think you could see it in the body language, not only from him. I think you could see it in the body language of some of the Mavericks players.
Be more specific.
If you guys, so the end of the game obviously shouldn't have been as close as it was. Tim Hardaway Jr. has a turnover when they're up 3 with about 10 or 12 seconds left. He he gets the ball. It's almost a jump ball, and he's trying to keep the ball alive. Orlando's not fouling. And instead of the Mavericks have 2 timeouts. Instead of calling timeout, Tim eventually kind of loses his balance, takes a step back and travel. Not a great play from Tim, but as soon as it happens, you see Luka, before it happens, yelling towards his sideline to call for a timeout.
I got a video clip. It's 6 seconds long. So we're going to watch this.
Yeah.
We're going to watch this as part of the group for here on the live stream. If you're listening on audio, you're not going to be able to see this. But if you go to Worldwide Wob's Twitter feed, he does a very good job of sort of showing what's going on here. So let's click over to this particular thing. I'm going to blow up my screen real big. This is 6 seconds left. I'm going to press play.
In watching travel, watch Hardaway. He's going to say call timeout. Aaron,
yeah, Luka's not happy. I mean, it's pretty visceral reaction there.
And the thing about it is, he's right. Like,
right.
This is the sort of shit we have been talking about all year, but it's very, very difficult, guys. You got to understand. I don't want to have the same podcast 82 times.
Yeah, because we could talk about this after
every time. He is a piss poor in-game coach, with the exception of after timeout plays.
Yeah. So, and then we're seeing some Tim Hardaway Jr. I think in the post game tried to be as
diplomatic. He laughed a little bit,
talked like a politician answer, but you can, I mean, I think the way you could see the players reacting, I think the way you saw Kidd reacting and the way he coached this game, I think everyone in that building knew how catastrophic a loss tonight would have been. Like, there was a palpable tension in the air throughout this game, because I know it's, you know, if you're not close to the Maverick, like the Seats for Soldiers thing is a very big deal to the organization. It is part of their culture. They do not lose these games. And then you consider how they've been playing beforehand. You consider the schedule coming up, where they will probably not, they will not be favored in what, four of their next 5 games. They will straight up not be favored in the 4 of their next 5 games. If they lost this game, then you lose 3 in a row. You're at 500. Then you got to play New York and Oklahoma City to stay above, to try to stay from going below 500. Like, this would have been a catastrophic loss.
Let me walk folks back if you think we're being ridiculous. So on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, they won against New Orleans. Okay, they're 24-17 after that win. They proceed to lose to the Lakers, Celtics, Suns, Hawks. I'm sorry, they beat the Hawks. They lose to Sacramento. If they would have lost to Orlando tonight, we can, you know, the Minnesota game on Wednesday is going to be tough. Then Milwaukee, then Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then you got toss-ups against New York and Brooklyn. Then Oklahoma City. Then you play Washington and San Antonio. It's that bad.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a coincidence that he was jumping up and down on the sideline, yelling at players, yelling at refs. By the way, this is the most mad I've ever seen him get at refs, by the way. He almost ran to full court
twice
on that play. Tim Hardaway Jr. tripped at court.
Or fell over his own feet. And
funny enough, the Mavericks shot 43 free throws tonight. Wow. Sticking up for your players seems to have a net benefit. Who would have thought? So also, they did stuff, by the way. They made in-game adjustments. I know the kid had some really bad moments, but they switched to a zone. Well, they tried playing it in the first half, and it did not work. The zone.
This is a good question.
But then in the second half, the zone was the key reason they made that third quarter run.
So, based on what you just said about Kidd getting demonstrative, Mavericks fan in the chat says, okay, but why doesn't Kidd do that every game? My answer, and I'm interested in what your answer is that Kidd knows the season's really long. And you cannot behave like that every game. Look at Luka, because nobody listens to him anymore. However, my criticism is that you can do it 1 in every 10. You can show a little fire. That's the first fire I've seen out of him this season.
You can also show all energy doesn't have to be negative energy. Like, you could still be positive and energetic. Like, it doesn't need to be demonstrative. Doesn't always need to be within like yelling at players and telling them like, hey, get your head out of your asses. It can also be like, rah, let's go. Like, let's pick it up. Let's do this. Let's beat the shit out of these guys. Like, let's run it down their throats. You can do that too, which he did a lot in the 2022 playoffs. had him mic'd up, and they had a lot of sideline coaches audio clips of him from that playoff run doing that. So I don't know why he doesn't do it all the time, other than maybe that there is a sense of job security that he
I really think
feels
that.
in his current position. He is friends with, I think it must be said, this is the closest he is to his front office and ownership group since he's been a head coach. He did not get along with the ownership in the front office in Brooklyn or Milwaukee. Cuban and Nico are his friends, like straight up. They are close friends.
Yep.
So he was not close friends with the owner or the GM in Milwaukee or Brooklyn. So I think that has a difference. He probably doesn't feel like he has to do this every night. And maybe he thinks he doesn't have to do it. I don't know. Like now I'm trying to like psychoanalyze a guy from my couch,
which is tough. Like
yeah.
A lot of our fans want us to do it, and we shy away from it simply because it's not good business.
Yeah, but it was obvious tonight.
It was, yeah.
Like, I think he knew, and I think they knew he was coaching for his job tonight. I think if he lost, I don't know. Maybe it's tough to say.
Well, I mean, we
Definitely
didn't
would've
talk
been
about
fired,
this because it didn't come up in the flow of our show, but Luka went on TNT and Shaq asked him if he'd had a talk with his coach about his behavior when Kid has said they have had a talk about his behavior.
Multiple times he said they've talked about it.
And Luka was like, no, we've not talked about it at all.
Yeah.
And, I tend to believe Luka Doncic.
Right. I don't know why he'd lie about that.
Right.
Especially when it's like, it
thing
makes
to
you
lie
look bad.
about.
Right. That's like, why would you lie to make your coach look, I don't know. That would be weird. But yeah, it was just funny to see the energy in him and like the fact that they were making adjustments. Like they played more zone tonight, I think, than they've played in any game this season. I don't have the numbers, so I could be wrong, but they played a lot. I mean, and that was the reason why they won the third quarter, because the Magic don't really have a true point guard. Like Suggs and Anthony are kind of like scoring guards in point guard bodies. And you need a floor, you need a floor general, so to speak, or a distributor when you're playing against the zone, someone that can put you in the right spot. Not necessarily one that's going to rack up assists, but just someone to be like, hey, let's run a set. Let's get here. You go here. Like, let's make sure everyone's in the right place. Magic don't really have that guy. So it was smart to run zone. It didn't work well in the second quarter. So I wonder if halftime was them going over it and be like, hey, this is where y'all need to be. And yeah, is this a sign of things to come? I don't know, because I don't know if there's any coaching Kid can do that's going to prevent what I think is going to happen in these next three games.
That's what makes some of this stuff so frustrating is I think the Mavericks have real reasons to look at what's going on right now and saying none of this can be helped. You can't help the roster at this point in the season. Everybody's hurt. So we're just trying to survive. That's what makes the kerfuffles and the miscues really stupid. Because you get put in a winning position, you're up 126-120, and you win by 2, and you gave up the last shot of the game.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. I thought that was going in.
There's some there was this. I mean, great. You watched it from above. It was actually much more, but from the side, it looked like Franz Wagner's shot was going to go in.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think just to sort of put a bow on this and not beat it to death, that he needed the win, whether or not it would have been fair to him at some point. When the vibes around this Mavericks team are not great. They're just
He's supposed to be a vibes guy.
Yeah.
Like that's
and if you're a player's coach and everything's a little bit at a certain point, things like you just got to start answering questions. I mean, Kid's going on 97.1 The Freak at 9:40 tomorrow with K Fun tweets. Whoever I can't remember that guy's name. Yeah, Kevin Turner. And so, maybe you'll tune in and get some interesting answers there, because I think in those situations, Kid's a little more willing to talk than he is at like press conferences. All coaches hate press conferences. So as much as he drives me crazy with this, I should be more charitable with it. It's one of these things, like, he's going to be the coach until he's not, but there are just more and more things that make me go, because the Bucks fired their head coach. They're the number 2 seed or 3 seed in the East.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Anything is possible.
Yeah, I wonder if that got maybe lit a fire under him too, being like, oh,
I mean,
boy,
maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, I think you're right in the sense that he can look at the schedule. He's seen what's come before, and he's seen
he's
what's
not dumb.
ahead.
He's not dumb.
No, he's not dumb.
That's kind of like the misconception. People think like he's just not liking it. Like
he's stubborn.
Yeah. There's a difference. Gosh, what was I? Oh, I was gonna say something related to the kid. Oh my gosh, I think I lost it. But it was. Oh, you brought it up the last podcast. We just don't talk about it a lot because, like you said, we can't talk about this after every game. But I mean, there's really only one 30-game stretch that they've looked like a really
in 3 years,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And since he's been a head coach as Dallas, it's been the second half run of the 2022 season going into the playoffs.
Yep.
Because before that, the first half of that season, they were bad. And last season they were bad, and this season they're mucking around. Now they're not at 500, but they're kind of mucking around a little bit. They've been under 5. They've been basically a 500 team since November. So yeah, like they haven't had a long sustained stretch with him as coach besides that 2022 run. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think
it wears down eventually.
You can't lie all of that at his feet,
no.
but I at a certain point you got to look and say, hey.
What can we change? Here?
The defense isn't improving. The offense is the same. We just, the way this team wins basketball games is Luka Doncic good. Mavericks shoot ball well. Like they don't have any other recipes for success. They don't run plays.
Except for out of timeouts, which is so weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like they've obviously got a playbook.
Well, and Kid does have input on their roster. Like Kid was why they went out and got JaVale McGee and wasted their mid-level exception, one of their big chits in the ability to make roster moves. Is a monstrously wasted asset that rests on Jason Kidd. Sorry, it does.
Yeah.
I mean Nico too, but it's I don't know. You don't want to beat a horse to death because the season is far, far too long. A lot of fans that get on these sorts of things and comment live are just as impassioned as I used to be. I try not to be that way anymore, but I get it. And so it's like you don't want to over lean into it because then you got the completely other side of the media coin. Let's just say, we can name names. It's okay. They're like old school media hat guys like Bob Sturm for the ticket and probably your Brad Townsends of the world who have covered a bajillion NBA seasons and say like you can't get upset over a certain stretch of games. And that view has credence. As much as I don't like it sometimes, it's something you can't ignore. And so Mark Cuban is a conservative owner in that regard. He is not rash. I mean, somebody noted it in the chat earlier. They didn't fire Donnie Nelson when he stormed out of the 2020 NBA draft like the big drunk baby that he is.
Yeah. I mean, how many coaches has Cuban's had?
4.
4 coaches?
Donnie Nelson.
He's been here 20 years.
Carlisle, Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you're right. He's it's rare for him to make a move. He's never fired a coach mid-season.
Nope.
Right? So, yeah.
Oh man. Okay. This is a good show. Somebody asked if I'm going to have a secondary live show. Yes. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go to a brief break. I'll probably cycle our video a couple of times because I need to find some water, check on my wife real quick. I'll be back in 2 to 3 minutes, and we will have the live fan show that you guys should come up here and participate with. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. If you're listening on the audio version of the show on podcast feeds, that show will get posted on Tuesday afternoon. Thank you so much for your support of our show. Remember to like and subscribe and to leave comments. On behalf of Josh Bowe, this is Kirk Henderson, and this is Pod Maverick. Everyone have a very good rest of your week until we meet again on Wednesday. Bye, guys. everybody? Welcome back to Pod Maverick. This is Mavs Party. I need to change the name of our show up here. Too many things. I need an actual producer. My name is Kirk Henderson. As you know, I'm editor-in-chief over at MavsMoneyball.com. This is our semi-regular, which I hope to get back to being a regular show because I like doing it. It is Mavs Party. For those of you who may be new here or may not have participated before, I just posted a pinned comment to the YouTube stream that you can join to come into a different application that lets you join me on the show live. It is pretty easy to use from your phone. It's very easy to use from your computer. If you don't want your video up, you don't have to have it up, though it is a video-based show with audio elements. We usually have, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 people talk. Some nights we have as many people as 15 to 20. I tend to have a rule. If I don't have anything going on, I will have as many people as possible up here to talk basketball with me. Josh and I just finished kind of an interesting philosophical conversation, kind of about the health of the Jason Kidd coaching job, where I think we both settled on the fact that he is going to remain head coach, but there were signs tonight of things that he's done coaching wise that he just doesn't do very often. And when you are coaching a superstar like Luka Doncic, there's constant pressure all the time to perform, and it's one of these things where you feel like something could change in a moment. Only Luka comes from a very different basketball environment where I think, talking about coaching changes probably doesn't happen near as much in European clubs as the superstar driven NBA. But that's kind of neither here nor there for the immediate game. If you had fun watching that Mavericks game, and I hope you did, the Mavericks just won 131 to 129. Let me see. It was a really dominant Luka performance, one of those sneaky ones where I'm paying attention to so many other guys. It's a little bit difficult to you don't want to overhype any one person, but 45 points and 15 assists is beyond ridiculous for a guy on a heck of a tear. There were, quite the Tim game, 36 points and 8 rebounds, really something to behold there whenever Tim is on a heater. It's probably got to be extremely demoralizing losing to Tim freaking Hardaway Jr. All right, we got our first guest, my regular participant in Brian, who is faithfully joins at least every other show, kicking us off. Remember, guys, if you want to join, click that link, please. I really like having folks up here to talk basketball with me. We're coming up first, Mr. Brian. What's up tonight, man?
What's up, man? What about that game, huh?
It's fun, man. It was stressful, but the kind of stressful where I kind of felt like they were going to win from the start of the third quarter on. I don't know why. Just because
start, I thought maybe in the last. Okay, so full disclosure, I was playing 2K with my friends for most of the game, so I caught it in chunks and bits and pieces. I saw that first stretch in the first quarter where things were not looking good. Second quarter when they kind of got back into it. The end of the third quarter, I thought, is when they really started pulling things together, and I thought they had a solid chance then. By that point, it was already cooking, and Luka had already shaken off his bad start. But yeah, no, the last 16 minutes of that game were electric, dude. It was like watching a thriller film. I could not stay in my seat.
Yeah, and that's sort of, it gets a little frustrating when they win and lose games the same way. But when guys are on heaters the way Tim was, I sort of like riding it. I mean, I'm largely a Tim proponent. I get people that just can't stand him though, and so I tend to like it when he's really on fire.
Yeah, I kind of owe Tim an apology. An apology is going far. I'm not apologizing because I meant all those things that I said about his defense and his awareness and his turnovers and all that. But as everyone who watches this team knows, when Tim is on, it doesn't matter if he's bleeding points. It doesn't matter if he's giving up. And he had 8 boards tonight, so shout out to him. Actually, taking pride on doing work on the defensive board. So that really, really helped us out.
Yep.
And he was just unconscious when he's making shots like that, whether they're like open catch and shoot threes or he's dribbling into like his little midi that he likes. If he's making it, you're not gonna hear a peep out of me. And tonight he was on fire. He was one of the dudes who was really like ready to come in and
He
take
gets
those
so
shots.
lost on defense, though, man.
He gets lost in transition, especially like a rookie. And I'm like, dog, what? It makes me so sick to my stomach. But it's like, okay, when you do this, I can stomach it. But it's like I'm ready to get off the roller coaster. I'm still ready to move. And hell, I tweeted this. I was like, with him and Wendell Carter in the building right now, after the game Tim just had, I'm not letting them leave the building until we get that deal done right now. We can go ahead and make this swap happen. Y'all ain't even got to take jerseys off, man.
Yeah.
Also, a quick shout out to Jaden Hardy, man. He had a little run like in the middle of
best game of the year. Not even close.
Yeah, right. Like this is. I think I tweeted this is the best he looked in weeks, but this is probably the best he's looked all year. So shout out to him coming through and having a big game. When it's like you said with Josh earlier. I think everybody knew what a loss tonight meant, and honestly, I'm just annoyed that these dudes pulled together and battled and had this game for a coach that I frankly don't believe deserves it, but I'm not going to make tonight about him because these dudes played their heart out like not that long after a brutal back-to-back stretch, and I'm just proud of them and happy to have.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the last show, and you know, I gotta be consistent. It's important to be consistent and not just be a fair weather guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of asked that he get traded or ejected or sent to the moon or something of that nature on multiple shows. And big picture, I don't really see where he fits with the Mavericks. But when you're down Kyrie Irving, when you're down Dante Exum, it's very, very nice to see a guy step up.
It's like, hey man, can you or Seth come in and just make shots? It's the one thing we need you to do. All we need you to do is make shots, not turn the ball over, and just not kill us on defense. In fact, you can do the third thing if you just don't turn the ball over and make shots. And he came in tonight, he filled his role, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It's nice. Who else was kind of interesting to you tonight? Because it was a little disappointing to me to see Grant Williams become a pumpkin again. But this team is so long, the Orlando Magic. I mean, it's hard to get too bent out of shape about it. So
yeah, this is a really bad. Like I was talking to one of my friends before the game even started. I was like, dude, them starting Jonathan Isaac just cause is like them rubbing our noses in the fact that our power forward is 6'5". So I always knew this was going to be a bad Grant game. I'm not mad at that. I think I saw him splash like one corner three and then Burke another one. I didn't see too much of his game tonight to really be mad at him. So
I think that's right.
That just kind of is what it is. Josh, I don't know what he finished with. I know he started the game terribly, and then
Josh also finished the game like Josh. I have a hard time with Josh. Everything I say about Josh is mean. Josh was awful tonight. He was awful.
Yeah, he wasn't great. I thought he had like a couple of good plays towards the end of the game, but
he made a layup finally.
That's what it was.
In the last minute and 30 seconds, he made a layup. So, which I mean, they needed the layup. They won by 2.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well, I can't be too sassy here, but it was definitely something. Just the Magic are the kind of team though that vexes me because they're just so big.
They're so long, dude.
I can't remember if they have the same GM who's drafted all these lengthy guys, but like skilled size is the way to go. And I certainly don't think Paolo Banchero is like the kind of guy that's going to lead a team anywhere. 36, 9, and 7. So it's a little bit of an asshole-less thing of me to say, but
I say, wow.
I think he's such an amazing second piece for me, but I don't know. They've got the guys to where I'm just kind of, I want to see them in certain matchups is what I want. And they're so long to be annoying. Like they're just a fun team to look at because they're like the Funhouse Mirror Mavericks with their length. I mean, they could play. Josh Bowe and I talked about this. They could play 5 dudes who are 6'9" or tall.
Dude, the whole team 6'10".
Yeah,
the entire team.
Jalen Suggs is Tim Hardaway size, and he's the smallest guy they rolled out there tonight.
But it was like him and Greg Anthony's kid.
Yeah, Cole Anthony. That's true. Man, he had 9 assists. Good gravy.
Yeah, Cole Anthony, good player. Love him.
Interesting player.
But yeah, hey, can we give a little love to our hometown kid, man? Anthony Black came
Anthony Black,
4 threes early.
Man. He dusted Maxey so hard in the fourth quarter. Like it was over in the left corner, and he jabs right, and Maxey jumps back like he's shot, and the dude just drives to the little limb and lays it up. It's really
That's
something.
the second game in a row I've seen a guard do that to Maxey. I forget who it was that did that to him in the left corner last game, or maybe it was the Celtics game I'm thinking of. But yeah, no, he gets stunned like it's in 2K where like somebody crosses you over with like the little ankle breaker badge or whatever, and you just stand there for 3 seconds. Like that's the type of time he was on. It was pretty nasty, but I'll forgive him because Anthony Black was killing everybody tonight.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, he was the guy that for everybody that forgets, like I irrationally wanted him to be a Maverick just because I wanted a guy that went to my high school to be a Dallas Maverick. Obviously not the right pick for the Mavericks. Shout out Dereck Lively, who played one of his 3 best professional games tonight, I think. But he played a heck of a game.
Yeah, man, against this team too, with all this length and like everybody who's going to be helping him like on defense coming to like protect his weak side is like 4 or 5 inches shorter than whoever's going to have the ball and be driving to the rim. And he held down the paint anyway and just did a really admirable job. I'm so proud of that kid, man. I won't tolerate any Lively slander from any direction. I don't care how bad he plays. I don't care how bad his hands look on a certain night. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I get it because it's tonight was a night where both he and Jaden Hardy shouldn't have played well just due to the matchups, and they both played great. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. Well, it seems like we got kind of a quiet crowd tonight. We don't have anybody else that usually, after a win like this, we get at least a few people in here that want to come talk basketball, but seems you're the only one willing to save me tonight. So maybe I will cut this one short and might not even don't know if I'm even going to post this one to the audio stream because it'd be like 9 minutes long. It'd be a little bit weird.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I just like it. It sucks because like we had such a cool thing going with the other app, but then Spotify just killed it. And granted, gets way more reach. I mean, look, we got 200 people just hanging out in here. And at certain nights that gets up to 300, 400, but it'll never be like that. Were you in the room that I did one night that had Mark Stein and Kevin O'Connor, and there were like 9,000 people listening to the live show?
I don't think I was there for that
one. It was like one of the trade deadline ones, of course. So it was like,
oh yeah, oh god, maybe I was there.
It was just nuts. Like I remember Brian Damaris joined the show.
Yeah,
like I don't even think he likes me, but he's like, oh, this is
this is so popping. I got to be there. Yeah.
Green room was like a lower barrier for entry. People just don't want to come up and do these things. But you figure after COVID, so many people like to be on screens, they just don't even care. Like we got Jason down there in the chat. Jason used to come up once a show. Give me his slightly grumpy Mavs takes, but that's okay. I'll try. I think once I get back in the regular rhythm, I'm going to do one on Wednesday, and I'll do one on the Saturday game too. Kids sleeping a little better, so that will help. But yeah, you got any other takes before we? I think I'll answer a couple of questions from the chat, and then we'll get on out of here.
Hey man, he played badly tonight. Give Josh a little grace. He's been playing great for like 2 weeks now. Sure. Y'all know how I feel about the inconsistent players, and you know how much I would be yelling at Josh if he had us on a roller coaster right now. But he's been really good for like 2 weeks, so I'm gonna give him grace for this game.
That's
next
fair,
brother. We need you to hit some shots.
That's fair. Okay, so thanks so much, Brian. We'll talk soon. So hopefully, see you on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Night. All right. Somebody asked me in the chat. Give me your kind of trade deadline take. I am the worst Mavs media adjacent person when it comes to trades. You got former Mavs Moneyball staffer Lauren Gunn, who loves throwing out trades left and right, including like the big 4-teamers. You got Dalton Trigg, who manages to get aggregated based off of stuff that he just makes up in his head. And then there's like Mavs Moneyball, where you just don't see a lot of trade stuff. That's kind of by design because I'm just, unless I think the Mavs have the ammo, I'm not really going to talk about it. And I still am of the opinion that unless they are getting a buy low, like very low person, I don't think they're gonna go get anybody because I don't think they want to use their own. They only have 1 first-round pick. Now, lots of people like to correct me and say they could use 2 first-round picks right now. I am nearly certain they can only use 1 first-round pick because of kind of their future obligations. If they get out from underneath the Knicks obligation that they have right now, which is the 2024 draft pick, should go their way. At that point, they'll be able to, it frees up future assets for them to move. So I think if they were going to make a move, they would want to do it when the move takes them from a fringe. Let's just be, the range for the Mavericks, I think charitably is play in to just barely missing the play in, like 6th seed. That's sort of where they are. That's sort of what, whatever move they would make, even if it was with a single draft pick, I don't think moves them out of that range. Now, let's just say, I don't want to say like darkest timeline, but a possible move, if it gets bad enough for them, I really think they might take on Miles Bridges. I think that would drive our fan base, particularly our online fan base, absolutely batty. It's important to note that most fans are not online. Miles Bridges got a standing ovation from Charlotte when he first came back. So I think that's the kind of like talented, buy low, but kind of icky guy the Mavericks might go get if they were at all interested in changing their roster. I'm not sure it would. I think it would improve them just because he's such a wild athlete. But I'm not sure what. It just feels like sort of moving food around the plate. All right, this is another good question. Kirk, what is your take on Embiid getting a unanimous MVP vote again this year? People love him but hate on Luka. I don't get it. So Embiid can only miss 5 more games before he's not eligible for awards. so I don't think he's going to get there. I don't think he's going to be eligible this year. I really don't. I really don't. So I think the MVP will probably cycle back in a big way to Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is playing just monstrously terrifying basketball. He's and potentially like SGA. SGA has kind of the narrative vote behind him with the team that high. I think I still don't. Giannis is just sort of my guy in my head when I'm not thinking about Luka, just because Giannis tends to do it night in and night out. So that's sort of where I am at that point on these bigger fan questions. Now the Mavericks could surprise me. I just think that any move, did I use this analogy already? It's like how my son tries to move food around on his plate to convince me he's eaten more than he has. It doesn't fix anything. It is just, changing out parts. The Mavericks this year, we know who they are, but you don't fix what the Mavericks have become in a day. This season was a big step, but it's just not something that's going to happen overnight. All right. Everybody come back on Wednesday. I think I'm just going to post this entire show all in one show tomorrow. It'll be nice. If you are at all interested, come prepared and ready to talk. I will hang out late and talk basketball with anybody, including Brian, who comes up here most shows. Anybody listening on the audio feed, come subscribe to the show and you can get notified when we go live. We do these all in one big live stream, me talking for as many 2 to 3 hours. Not great for the vocal cords. What are you going to do? This has been Kirk Henderson of Pod Maverick. This has been Mavs Party Live and Mavs and After Dark. Thanks so much for hanging out. Everybody be good and go Mavs.